So we're back with another installment of our videos focusing on using MaxforLive with the Push 3 Standalone. As with our previous videos, I'm connected in controller mode so it can show you the patching as well as the impact on the Push 3. Everything I'm demonstrating though has been tested to work with the standalone mode, and of course you'll find the theory can be put into practice for both the Push 1 and 2 MIDI controllers. In the first couple of videos, I did hard code the selection of the Push 3 to be initialized upon the device loading. On the basis of compatibility with the other Push controllers, I've assigned this selection to a dial on the Push screen. An additional control I've added is a safety first measure that will control whether I grab or release chosen controls on the Push. Safety should always be a big concern whenever your patches access the control surface layer. As MaxforLive has no concept of a device being deleted, it's not possible to program the release of the control should that happen. So it's always best to give the user an option to release manually and then delete a device. If you just go ahead and delete whilst controls are grabbed, you'll find you'll probably need to power cycle the controller and more than likely restart live to get everything back up and running. We'll show you the practicalities of grabbing controls in one of these videos, and all the patches I am creating here I will be making available for download when the series are complete via isotonicstudios.com. But if there's something in particular you'd like me to investigate with regards to MaxforLive and the standalone, then please let me know in the comments below, and of course hit that subscribe button so you get notified when the rest of the videos in this series go live. So we've got our manual grab and release control, but when you're performing, you don't arguably want to be diving between tracks, navigating to a device, finding the right bank and twisting a control. Let's look at automating this grabbing of controls with a couple of examples. Again, safety first. KB Live Solutions Push Loop device is essentially the simplest looping setup device available. I'll add it to a track anywhere in my set, and I'm going to set the auto arm parameter to be on. As you can see, there's no change in the Push 3 button matrix. Now, if I choose an audio track whilst in session view, again, no impact. But should I select the note mode, something that obviously makes no sense when focused on an audio track, or looking at it from another perspective, it gives you a completely separate mode for the button matrix that you can light and use to control the audio track that you're focused on. In this case, the button matrix is now divided into areas for controlling the audio track. The top two rows act as a visual metronome synced to the transport of live. Bottom right is a giant button. You may of course be playing an instrument, so you've got a big area to hit there. That arms the track, and with the three buttons above controlling and indicating the monitor state. Looking quickly at the device UI, and you'll see this layout is reflected there, and the middle column gives you options of setting fixed lengths and choosing between them when recording clips for looping into this track. Bottom left focuses on setting recording into a clip, so let's do that now. And as you can see, whilst we're recording, the capture pads across the matrix are lighting up to show where in the clip you've already written to. Now let's suggest we've got the first few bars either wrong or they were intro to what you actually want looped. Let's grab the sector we want to be looped and play that back rather than the whole clip. So this device is checking that you're on an audio track and that note mode has been engaged. Then it grabs the controls, lighting them initially to display the functions, and then observes the button presses, turning those into clip actions for recording, monitoring, etc. And it provides feedback when states change in live, so you have bidirectional feedback. Okay, so here we are in our patcher, and as I said, it's going to be growing over this series of videos. Let's go into patching mode and unlock things, and we'll see what we've got going on. I'm going to come back to this when I eventually get some work done on MPE signals and actually taking an MPE signal and mapping it within the device to something that you would like to control. But I see a lot of posts on the forums, etc. There's some things that I've been trying to do that I've found have been impossible. If I just open this up here, if I go to this max dial, when you look down at the various parameters that you have that you can change, one of them is the range. And if I do some it will tell me that that range is actually hidden. Now that's a good sort of indication, certainly when it comes through to push standalone, that you can't change it on the fly and have it update on the screen. What I've attempted to do here is when I select a different place to focus on, so my float dial effectively, I want to change the parameter units and the parameter range by using these messages up here. And as you can see, it will actually change the display. So if I change this to frequency, for example, then you'll see hertz is recalled there. But unfortunately, none of that reflects on the push screen. So if you wanted to store, say, min and max values for your input from MPE or anything like that, you would need to select and display a previously saved and set effectively min and max value box. So save yourself a few hours of working that one out. Fingers crossed, if enough of us have reported it through to Ableton and the team at Cycling 74, maybe we will get some form of dynamic update on the Push 3 screen. Another thing that I've tried to do is actually grab the dynamic control surface. So get the U menu, and I believe if you do new M4L API, you'll see that there's a huge amount of stuff that Cycling have already built for you from an API point of view, which actually makes life a lot easier. And one of those is the select control surface. And within that, you could effectively expose this U menu, make it parameter enabled, and then add that to your list of device controls. So within effectively our mapping here, but when it goes to get the various control surface that attached, and I don't have any, it won't actually update this control to share it on the screen. So again, save yourself the effort of that. Let's close this one. Oh, cancel. I don't want to not save that. So instead, I've done the standard, the push 3, the push 1, 2, 3 into my control surface ID, which is from Tyler Mazeka. Thank you, Tyler, for finding that. And you will find there's an awful lot of stuff if you look on the Cycling 74 forum that can help you. Now, for my push control device, the releasing and grabbing via release is also done automatically if I'm on the track that the device contains and select the track. So if I go to release, go across the tape device and go back to the push 3, you'll see that it's automatically grabbed. And of course I have got that manual release control. So what that is done very simply, I will ask for the live set view, property of the selected track, route the ID of that track. I route it so it just exposes it as a single number, and I will also get the ID of the device track as well. So when I start on my, and if you haven't seen how to do that before, if you go to a send or receive device, press command and click on it, it will tell you where the rest of them are in the set. Oh, and one other thing, on send and receives, I always put 3 dashes and then the name, because then that keeps this send and receive exclusive to this particular device. So if you have multiples of the same device, it's not sending the data between them. This on start basically looks for the canonical, someone can correct that, parent, gets the ID, gets the path, filters the ID out, route 3, and then basically when I go back to is device currently on selected track, I check whether they're equal. And if they are equal, out of that comes a 1. And who am I? Which basically looks for what the device ID is and the appointed device, so what the ID of the current device is in focus. So if those two things are also equal, then it will output a 1. So I've got one in the left added to one in the right and banging in the left of the plus object there so that it triggers if who am I moves. Then if it equals 2, I'll send a 1 to grab and release, and we can see that, I believe, if I just connect that to my message box, and you'll see as a patcher I very much use message boxes and bangs to give myself a kind of a flow of seeing what's happening. So if I go to tape, you can see on the push itself, it's relinquished control. But if I go back to the push 2, it's grabbed it. And again, release, grab. So the loop push loop device rather is doing a similar thing, but it's checking first whether there's an audio track that's in view, and then it's checking to see whether the note button has been pushed. Now you can do that if you utilize one of these little patches here. Now I've created this purely based around the button matrix for now. I'll make a few other examples before I distribute it, but these patches, and I've got some notes here, effectively take the arguments and take control of the named elements of the push. So if I open it up and we go in here, the arguments being the control, sorry, let's just flip back. I forgot button matrix. So patcher, called control grabber, argument 1 button matrix, argument 2 144, which I'll come back to in a second. Basically, when the device finishes initializing, it will bang those arguments out, unpack them, and then it's going to send the detail of the button matrix to these 2 message boxes. And it also, I think it sends it through, yes, this route. Okay, now I'll come back to this in a second, but just follow with me. When I grab and release, as you can see here, all it is just the 1 or the 0 coming through. So if it's a 0, let's unlock this so we can see the, if it's a 0, then it's going to fire the button matrix message, prepend that message with call release control, and that's going to go into the live object that's basically focused on the whole of the control surface ID. So not the button matrix, but the whole of the push 3. It's also going to release the MIDI as well. So I'm grabbing individual and releasing individual controls, but with this I'm also grabbing and releasing the MIDI. Now effectively I'm going to push that button matrix through as a control. So when I call get control, if that number is a 1, let's change it to a 1, it's going to call get control, which is for the button matrix. It's going to pass through root get control down here. I'm going to observe the property value, i.e. the button presses, and I'm also going to give that same ID to a live object, which is now not focused on the whole of the push 3, but specifically on our wonderful button matrix. And let's just add a message box in here. So if I'm observing that, good practice is always to route a bang, as when you initialize observers and objects, often they will send a bang out their left outlet first of all. But if I press, you will see a message is formed, and that message consists of the velocity, the column, and the row, and the number 1. And I'm going to add the prepend set, which is the patcher argument, which again is my button matrix. So that will actually change this prepend message to have the message of the control that you're listening to be sent with it. So it's now sending button matrix 0, 2, 4, 62, etc., etc. Now, if I look to where I receive that, it comes in here, and I'm going to route the button matrix over here. And this is what I was using in my display to show you the column, row, and velocity, which you can see is updating here. Doesn't do anything apart from show the display, but then I could potentially do things with these button presses and then convert them and send them back to push light messages, which is back in here. Now, I've got a route object here, basically, that will route based on that button matrix message being selected and sent into this route message. So I can reuse this patcher and just copy and paste it and change the argument from button underscore matrix to whichever control I want. And then it's going to receive any messages from push light messages, but only going to deal with the ones that have been prepended with, say, the duplicate button, for example. Now I've got a gate here, and I've set it so that it's going to go through the left-hand side. Right, other left. It's going to send the value, the second value, then the third value, then the first value. Remember, the first value that came through was the velocity. So actually what the push needs to light itself is the column, the row, the velocity in that order. And I'll send that message, call send underscore value, column, row, velocity into the live object that's focused on the push button matrix. Now, I did have the question on, I think, one of the Facebook groups from someone who's saying, I want to use this push 3, but I use it with other software. So how do I light it in that case? So if I flick it across this way, those same messages are still coming in. But basically, what the push is going to work on is actually sending a MIDI command to it via Max, and that begins with 144 and then effectively has the number 2 and number 3. So if I change it that way, you can now see it's pulling it through. Now you could pre-program that to light it up as you want, which is exactly what the song mode the push loop device does. But with this, I've actually just done some maths effectively so that it realistically works out what the velocity column row is and turns them back into MIDI. So you have the two choices there. I personally find it a lot easier to do the call send value because I don't need to do any translating there. So if you wanted to change and grab something else, just simply grab that. I'm going to hold down Option, change it down, and replace the button matrix with something else, another control on the push. Now, that's going to work on effectively the same grab and release mechanism that you've got up here. So if you want to grab different things at different times, you'll need to work out something slightly more complicated. That's it for this video. When we come back the next time, I'm going to be looking at actually mapping to another parameter within Live directly from the Push 3. Thanks for watching, and remember, put your comments below and subscribe so you get to hear of the next video. Thanks for watching.